On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks took a big fat L. Why does this loss feel so bad? What needs to change for the Dallas Mavericks? And more coming up on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
How about 10 Mavericks, NBA champions? Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, where the best way you can help us grow the show, if you're here today, is to comment anything below. Let me know. Give me one thing the Mavericks absolutely have to change. One thing they got to change. Let me know in the comment section below.
Rebrand to this. Let's do it.
Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. The blocked boy, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
The blocked boy.
You got blocked. Mavs got blocked. We got sweat block later in the show. Everybody's getting blocked.
There's a few Mavs fans on Twitter out there that probably have me blocked. I got some blocked.
Let us know in the comment section. If you have us blocked on Twitter, let us know. Let us know.
If I have you blocked on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, that's probably better.
Let us know. This game sucked.
Yeah,
absolutely across the board, just sucked. I don't know. I mean, before this, Nick was like, hey, we can hit the 27-minute mark on this pod. And I was honestly,
you don't got to tell him that.
I was like, honestly, if we hit 17, I'm good with that, because from start to finish, outside of BOBAN being back,
that was nice.
There was nothing else good about this game.
There were not many good takeaways. And so you start looking at a game like this, Dallas Mavericks lose 92 to 101. And you start to think okay, this loss, if you're on Twitter, you can just, everything is just terrible, negative. Everything's the worst. This team sucks.
What? On Twitter?
Everything's bad. But that's normally the case. And so if you're someone that's not on Twitter, and I understand that. That's probably much better for your mental health at this point in society. Why is this loss way worse than some of the other ones, right? The Mavs are 8-6, still a winning record, still have the most clutch wins in the NBA this season. But those 6 losses are some of the worst losses that you could imagine before the season. Literally, if you were a person or a podcast host that may have done a schedule prediction podcast, I don't know who would do that. It is definitely not the two individuals in front of you right now. But if you were that person and you went through and you're like, all right, game 1 against the Suns, Mavs are going to be motivated. Back in Phoenix. Phoenix is terrible with all the Ayton drama and everything. That should be a win. Then you're you start going through it. They should beat the Magic. They should beat the Pelicans without Zion. They should beat the Wizards. They should beat the Rockets. They've lost all of the games that they should have won this season, it seems like. And this one I felt like was the worst.
Yeah, this is why you don't try to predict the schedule. That's why that content is absolutely meaningless to me. So it's just because you just don't know. You never know. And obviously Luka Doncic didn't play in this game. No. JaVale didn't play in this game.
Fair. So Maxey didn't play in this game. I actually felt like they really did miss Maxey in this game.
They did miss Maxey. Going to this game, I was like, all right, I was looking at it, and I'm not saying this just because I'm trying to take up for Dinwiddie or anything like that. But Dinwiddie and Luka, we talked about on yesterday's pod, they both, played around 40 minutes the night before. It's all right, the 2 ball handler conversation on yesterday's podcast and all that stuff. Luka sits, Dinwiddie plays. And you could tell immediately. I texted you in the first quarter. I was like, Dinwiddie looks shot out there. He looks dead.
He's got
his shots. Yeah, his legs didn't look like they were there. The shots were coming up short. Even the form, I think that was the more telling thing than anything. The form on the shots looked off. He wasn't set. He was just taking off balance 3, just launching it up. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a long night for Dinwiddie. He just looks like he's just gassed already.
And it was. I mean, that was definitely the case. And so when Luka's not there and you start a starting 5 of Dinwiddie, Bullock and Dorian, Dwight Powell, and then Josh Green gets the start instead of Luka, since Luka was resting, you're putting a lot on Spencer Dinwiddie. You're just putting a lot on him. And so
but there's no other options because of how the roster is. Like, you got it at this point.
You can't. I don't think on a second night of a back-to-back, I don't think that you could start Dinwiddie like that and just have Tim and Christian Wood just off the bench. Like, I think you got to throw in somebody else just to give you something else, because they start. At least that's just my opinion. They started in the hole to start the game. It was 4-11. They scored 4 points in the first 5 minutes. That starting lineup did against the literal worst defense. This is one of the reasons why this loss feels so bad. The Rockets have the worst defense in the NBA by 3 whole points per 100 possessions. They have 122 defensive rating. The next one is like 119. Like, literally the worst by a wide margin. The Rockets defense is so bad. And the Mavericks couldn't score to start this game. And so you feel it in the arena. You felt it from the players. Like, we should be succeeding more than this. We should be scoring more than this, right? The NBA and basketball is like a game of a ton of small successes. Stop somebody on defense, score over here. They weren't stringing together any of those small successes. They start the game 4-11, and it just, like, they had to just claw back ever since then. And another reason why I felt bad, is they clawed back. They kept clawing back. They would go down by 9, and then they would claw back, and then they'd get a 9-point lead, and they would lose it, and then they would, they'd go down again, and they clawed back, and they couldn't string together enough to actually put them away.
Yeah, imagine being Locked On Rockets.
I can't. I sat next to Jackson the whole game, and I talked to him the whole time.
Covering this game the whole time. Imagine taking Jabari Smith Jr., the 3rd overall pick in the draft.
But also using him the way that they do.
I remember when he was projected number 1, and Magic were like, yeah, no, we've watched tape too, so we're good. We'll take Paolo.
Remember when everyone was shocked he didn't go number 1?
Yeah. And Orlando is sleeping very well at night, knowing that they have Paolo instead of Jabari.
Very well.
I guess in hindsight, going off what you're saying, I guess they should have started Tim over Josh. You just have to have that. Who are you gonna? Because, and I laugh about it, but like Kuzma wasn't wrong. Like the roster is limited. And we've mentioned that. It's like, I know the Kuzma, clip, some Mavs fans are like, but he wasn't wrong. Like, because even like look at the lineup out there: Josh Green, Dorian, Dwight, Reggie. None of those guys are going to create.
No.
So you're asking Dinwiddie to be the main scorer, and the other guys like Josh, hey, go fly around, like be active, do some good things. Reggie and Dorian, you're just going to like basically stand there and like be ready for the open 3 in the corner. And Dwight, roll to the basket. Dinwiddie, you're the only guy we got. All right. You're going to have to create, run the offense, but also we need you to score a ton of points. So it's games like this where you see how limited the roster is. It doesn't matter as much when you have the wizard of Luka running the show and making the limiting. No, I don't know how to word this. To where the limitations don't matter as much whenever Luka's on the floor because they fit into the scheme.
You ever in church camp? You ever do the thing where they're like, everybody hold hands and interlock your fingers so that we cover each other's weaknesses?
The crap camp judo.
Do you ever do that one where everybody holds hands next to each other and then you interlock fingers so you cover each other's weaknesses? You never did that?
That's creepy as heck.
Some people are out there like, yes, we did that at church camp. You coach church camper. You teach church camp now. And
Yeah, I get the whiteboard out and say, hey guys, Holy Spirit's over here.
You run any horns actions?
I need you to play man defense.
I'm running elevators now, guys.
We're playing drop coverage on Jesus.
Luka is a giant hand that just covers everyone's weaknesses, right? Like that's just the way that it works. He as a star player in the NBA, you can cover a multitude of sins for an NBA team.
Well, tonight they needed to break this manna and to feed a lot of people because there was no miracle that happened tonight. I mean, Luka is the one who, when Luka walks beside his teammates on the beach, and then there's only one set of footprints, it's Luka's. But when Luka is not in the game, there's footprints going everywhere because they don't know where to go. All right. Let's take a break.
The cross before me, the cross behind me. What's that song? Luka's before me. Coming up, let's talk about who's to blame. Who's to blame for this loss? Because you start looking around and you're like, all right, is it roster construction? Is it coaching? Should the Mavericks just be better with the players that they still have? Like, let's talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about BetterHelp. This is something I've actually used in my life. Everyone needs to talk to somebody. Everyone. You can't just go live your life on your own. How many more religious things can we do? You gotta do life with somebody. You gotta do life with people. Life doesn't come with a user manual. So when it's not working for you, it's normal to just feel stuck. And with all the things that are coming at us every single day, this is like a thing that's very close to our heart right here with Locked On Mavs. You need BetterHelp. You need someone to talk to. The world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Plus, it is affordable. I have used this. I use BetterHelp. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can just easily switch to another therapist. It's called you're just trying to find somebody when you first start. I know that could be the most daunting thing. It's like, I don't know if I want to just spill my guts to just somebody on the internet. Well, if you don't vibe with that person right away, you can switch. So go ahead, learn more and how you can save 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Isaac Harris, we're talking about the Dallas Mavericks lost to the Houston Rockets. No Luka Doncic, no problems for the Houston Rockets. Just an awful loss. They're probably their worst of the season. And now you just go to, okay, if you're going to do a blame pie, who gets the biggest percentage of the pie? Is it the front office because of how the roster is constructed? Is it Jason Kidd and the coaching staff for not preparing these guys to be better than they were? Or is it the players just to be better, to do better at what they're doing? I feel like each piece of that gets a little bit of, is it Cuban for, I don't know, past transgressions? Like each, I think, gets a little piece of that blame pie, but who gets the biggest piece?
Well, let's go with the schedule makers.
That's the first one you're going to go with?
No. I'm just kidding. I do think there's a little bit.
Mav State media over here.
I do think there's a little piece of the pie of saying like, a schedule loss. In the sense, but it's not near. It's like fourth or fifth reason on that.
I was gonna say, give that like a 10%. Give that 10 or 15%.
Yeah, it's right? not very high. I'm gonna go with the front office. I think I'll go with the front office on this one because we have been saying, going back to the summer, who's going to be the third ball handler. What happens? What happens whenever Dinwiddie or Luka misses time? Who's going to run the offense? Whatever. Well, guess what? One of them set out tonight, and the other one was shot. All right, he was tired.
Not literally, yeah.
And then look, when we were watching Campazzo run around and throw up bricks, Frank, came in. He was like behind Facu. Christian Wood was trying to generate offense from the 3-point line, and he was doing it. But I feel like it was Christian Wood versus Houston mental battle than it was
for sure.
Because those Rockets teammates, ex-teammates, very clear that they're not going to be in Christian Wood's wedding one day. All right. So
Jalen Green, Sengun, and Porter Jr. were going at him anytime they got anywhere near him.
Talking the stuff, a little extra motivation for Houston going against Christian Wood, and felt like at times it got to him a little bit. But no, I give it to front office just because they haven't addressed it. I mean, even Jason Kidd the other day is like, I got to see more of Facu and Frank before. It's like, do we? Do we need to see more?
The question is, you do? That's the question. You do? You need to see more of Frank at this point? I mean, he had him on the roster last year. You had him in training camp. He played in preseason all up until the end where he got injured, and then he hasn't played in the regular season. But you need to see more of that. You need to see more of him. So, yeah, I'm with you that the front office does get some blame. They also should just still beat this Rockets team.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Talking about how bad. So I'm going to put it more on the coaching staff. I think a lot of these bad losses have been on coaching. You can't just expect, all right, let's go out, same game plan we've been doing. Let's just throw you out there. And, go ahead, guys. Go win. We're going to take less threes this year. We'll take 55 threes, right? We got to change up something. And I think this starting lineup, especially knowing how tired Dinwiddie was, or if he didn't, if his coaching staff didn't know how tired Dinwiddie was, then you're just putting him in a bad situation, right? By not knowing what your personnel is like and not knowing what status they are or what state they were in, right?
But if Dinwiddie didn't play, who the heck was going to run this offense?
But my point is, it's not even about Dinwiddie playing or not playing. It's about, okay, He's not 100%. He's, probably 65%, 75% of him right now. He's got to have some help in that starting five. You can't just put him out there to just give it all he's got in the first 5 minutes, be absolutely shot after that, and then have nothing for the rest of the game, right? You got to give him some help. I think they should have started Wood. I think Wood would have been motivated for this game. I think that Jason Kidd has been beating around the bush about like putting him in lineups and things. Like, I think they just should have started him and just been like, all right, we need somebody that's going to be super motivated against this Rockets team that's going to give us a scoring punch. This Rocket team is really bad defensively. We don't have Luka. Let's just try to outscore these guys. No matter the faults Christian Wood has on defense, and he has been in foul trouble a lot recently and all that, like just get something out of the gate that gives you a scoring punch, because they've been like, the starting lineups have just been bad even with Luka in, and this one was worse.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I guess they should have started Tim over Josh.
That's where we differ.
Because at some point, it's a matter of who do you trust more to be on the floor by themselves? Like, if we're just saying Spencer, Tim, Christian Wood, who do you trust more to be on the floor by themselves as just the lone offensive guy? And tonight, the Mavs picked Dinwiddie and let Tim and Christian Wood play together coming off the bench. When I think in hindsight, I would rather Christian Wood be the guy by himself on offense and saying, all right, while Dinwiddie and Tim started and while they're resting a little bit, let Christian Wood, let the show run through him on offense. What did he finish tonight? He finished with 26, 8 boards. Like, he had a pretty good game. Yeah. There was just, he was
9 of 22. He took 22 shots. That was a lot, but but him and Tim were like the only thing, and Dinwiddie, the only thing they got. That's it on offense.
Yeah, because that's why I put the front office first on that. Hey, if you're going now, their response back to me would be, hey, yeah, the team looks really limited right now, but whenever Luka's out there, he makes it all make sense. It's like you have all these parts to a car or whatever it is. You got all the books of the Bible.
You got all these verses. It's Psalms. You got all these little songs all over the place, and David comes along and puts it together, and it all makes sense.
But like, honestly, it's kind of how it is. Like, you have all these parts that when they fit all together, it works. But whenever you lose the key component of Luka, then it's like, all right, well, what am I supposed to do with the radiator right now with nothing else? Like, so
we're mixing our metaphors now.
We are. They looked like a team with a bunch of spare parts that didn't go together, and Luka's the thing that holds it together. And I think you have to blame a little bit of the front office on that. Sure. Hey, I mean, this should scare the crap out of Mavs fans, which, not that you were confident in this in the first place, that if Luka goes down with a twisted ankle for 2 weeks, I mean, do we just wrap up the pod and it's like, all right?
No, the pod will remain.
Just kidding, guys. The pod will
remain way after Luka. Even if Luka plays 20 years, we'll still be doing Locked On Mavs at a certain degree.
In the third segment of this, can you just unleash me to? I tweeted out tonight, what should we talk about on Locked On Mavs? And I literally have a million different answers. So in the third segment, just unleash me and let me list off things.
I'm ready for it. Let's talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Sweat Block. Do you have a problem where you sweat a lot? If you sweat profusely and you always have a problem where you can't raise your arms because you have pit stains and your back is all sweaty and you're just embarrassed. It's embarrassing. It's a problem you don't like to admit, but Sweat Block wipes are your little secret to confidence. Sweat Block wipes work for up to 7 days. Listen to me. You won't have pit stains or sweat for 7 days wherever you apply Sweat Block. So you can apply them on a Sunday and you will stay dry for the entire week. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweat Block. Save 20% with the promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. That's 20% off. Promo code LOCKED ON. That's 2 words, locked on. Sweatblock.com. You can also get them on Amazon, but you get the promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. Get that 20% off. If you go to their website, go check it out, sweatblock.com. Promo code Locked On. All right, Isaac Harris. We've been talking about the Dallas Mavericks loss. We don't want to talk about the Dallas Mavericks loss anymore. So you put out to Twitter, what should we talk about today? What did the people say we should talk about?
I'm going to throw at you some random things. Right. Some of it's Mavs, some of it's not. And then you have like 15 or 20 seconds.
Yeah, a rapid fire, like weirdo, bizarro mailbag.
EJ says Andor.
Love Andor. Andor is so surprising me. So Andor's a Star Wars show that's on Disney Plus. It's the prequel to Rogue One, which is the prequel to the original trilogy of Star Wars. I love how all the timeline comes together on it. It's like a prestige TV show. Like if HBO made a Star Wars show, that's what it's like. It's incredible.
Nick says God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, I'm not into video games like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything about it.
How Christian Wood is our third ball handler.
He is at times. He brings the ball up.
What were your thoughts on Facu tonight? Actually got some run.
I thought he gave him some extra zip. Like, he's not going to be the complete answer. I thought he gave him some extra zip on offense. He had some incredible passes. I mean, what did he have? 5 assists. And then he's feisty on defense. Like, I was talking to Adam Mares about him when we did Locked on NBA a couple weeks ago. And he said, the reason why he was in the NBA to start with was his defense. I mean, he's small and he's going to get abused like on post-ups and stuff by guys like Luka, but was in the NBA because of his defense and like his steals and his nose for the ball. And so he's going to give him
just don't shoot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's going to give him a little something, but the shot was way off tonight.
It was a little refreshing having somebody out there that can just run the offense a little bit of just like, okay, you can run off a screen and hit an open guy, hit Frank in the corner, no look pass. It's just anytime teams just sag off and dare him to shoot and you're like, there's no way it's going in.
How about he can just dribble and point at the same time? Point to where people are supposed to go at the same time.
I mean, when you don't have a third guy who can do that, it really stands out. You're like, wow, somebody knows how to. I really respect Clay Walls here with just this incredible Galaxy brain take.
Okay.
Did that loss actually help us? Because the Rockets will miss the number 1 pick by 1 win now.
Let's go. No, because the lottery odds have been flattened out and they're still number 1.
But still, it's good. I mean, I think it could help, and if it means they don't get Victor,
I don't want Jackson to get Wembanyama and have any happiness.
No, we don't need him in our division ever. 2 fans, pontificating here, says you should really just toss your game notes and preach the gospel to help give people some hope. Well,
we almost did that.
We already did.
We almost did that.
This person said. Danny says, Bobby, please. You're in the arena for the tribute. Tell us about it.
The Boban tribute was awesome. It's just a video highlights of like all the most fun Boban and Luka and just Boban stuff. There was the video where they do like a faux like James Bond thing, and they asked all the Mavs players who should be James Bond, the next James Bond. And like every single Maverick said Boban. And so they just kept photoshopping Boban's face on it. It was so funny. But yeah, Boban was staring up at it, and you felt the love in the crowd. Luka and Boban met at half court at halftime. It was great. I actually put up the tribute video on our YouTube Shorts. So if you're not watching our YouTube Shorts, go over to that tab.
This person says cheese. What's your favorite cheese?
This is an interesting. I like provolone on a sandwich.
Okay.
My wife and I went to Paris this summer, and I got the full education on cheese.
Flex on us.
Gruyere cheese is very good.
Okay.
Brie cheese on toast with like raspberry preserves or like jam is excellent. Central Market has great all that.
We had to leave our Tesla in the garage for our Paris trip, but Lockdown Mavs is doing good. Support us, guys.
I'm getting older. All my stuff is Star Wars things. I have to have some older tastes.
His Tesla has a Built Bar decal on it. Nicholas says, I actually kind of like this question, especially for Twitter.
I'm glad you do because you're reading it.
Nicholas says, are the frustrations about the squad valid, or is this still something that will work out? Kind of broad question, I know. Do you think the frustrations from fan base right now is valid? I say this is a good question because I saw something the other day. Somebody tweeted, is somebody in the Mavs Twitter sphere that said, if the Mavericks were having let me rephrase. They said, it might have been Josh Bowe. They said Mavericks fans they're so frustrated. They think they're God bless, I can't even freaking say it. Something about, let me just paraphrase. But judging how frustrated,
I'm just gonna let you drown here. Just keep.
I'm about to just like text Bo about it. There was a. I hate everything. It was something paraphrasing that, judging by how frustrated. Why are we still like laughing and having fun after a loss? This sucks.
Because we're a community, Isaac. The
if you enjoyed this pod after a loss,
my gosh.
if you listened, that means something. You're number one in my heart. Paraphrasing the tweet is saying, judging by like the frustration of Mavs fans, you would think they're having the season that the Warriors are having.
Yes, and
it's like
agreed.
So, are the frustrations about the fan base right now, is it warranted? Is it that big of a deal if you log on Twitter tonight and you're like, wow, Luka's leaving?
Like things always are. I feel like to a certain degree, right? I saw a couple people. I even saw Mavs Draft, our friend Richard, tweet this. Reggie Bullock has 0-0-0-0 across the board in his box score. He shouldn't be closing this game. And I was like, okay, that's true to a degree. And I would say this to his face. That's true to a degree, but like a couple of those zero places, assists, rebounds, like, like a bunch of things. They don't ask him to do those things. Blocks, like you're not going to ask him to get blocks. So, okay, just because he hasn't gotten steals or or like points, that's the only reason why. Okay, like half of it is true and half of it's not. It's kind of the way things always are.
Yeah. Multiple tweets tonight about, is this the biggest case for Luka's MVP case?
This game was this game. Yeah. We should gift wrap this game. And you know how they always send out those little things like vote for Luka Doncic. Here's some, I don't know, Dunkaroos. Vote Luka Doncic for dunk champion or something. Like they do those things. They should just gift wrap this as a DVD for everybody. Go watch this game.
I mean, honestly, like I laugh about that, but there's a little bit to it of that when Luka doesn't play, we can't beat the Rockets.
This one, the Magic game and the Wizards game, when he played bad. Like, all right, when Luka plays bad, doesn't show up. Like any player does on any team.
Yeah. Did you see the Arkansas player dunk tonight?
Whew. Yes. Yeah, we watched. Yeah, I saw it on Twitter and I watched it, and that was incredible. He that was like that's a video game dunk is what he did basically.
It was the best play of the whole night. Honestly, I'm like, can I just watch this over and over again instead?
You can. We have the technology.
The game. All right, the rest of it I don't really care about. Somebody asked about the weather. I'm like, sure, I love cold weather.
It's finally cold now, I guess, here in Dallas, which is like 55.
That's it. All right. We have an off day tomorrow. A lot of people were tweeting about trades.
Oh,
and I think we have another trade pod coming up on tomorrow's show. And then obviously we have a Friday night game still at home. Denver Nuggets come to town. So
Luka will be back.
We can talk some smack to Adam Mares and Matt Moore and the fun guys over at Locked On Nuggets. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you made it to this point, here it is. Here it is right here.
ISO on this.
If you made it to this point in the show, I need you to tweet at us tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just say, I made it to the end. That's all I need to know.
That's it. Or
so we
put in the comments on YouTube if you don't have a Twitter.
I'll say this. If you tweet at me tomorrow that you made it to the end, I will automatically follow you back on Twitter. There you go.
We appreciate it. Shout out to the people that I met today. Shout out to Michael and Matt. Shout out to those guys that I met today. Raccoon Squad. One of them from Nebraska. Came all the way from Nebraska to watch this Mavericks live.
Furniture Mart.
Incredible. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs, making us your first listen. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Talking about Cavaliers basketball. They're talking about football. They're talking about all kinds of the biggest stories on Locked On Sports today on the Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.